Maria Gonzalez and her son, Noe Ramirez, are suing Maria's daughter's ex-fiancé, Michael Cortez, for wedding costs and vandalism to Noe's car.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 3108, Gonzalez Ramirez versus Cortez.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're Miss Gonzalez.
Yes, I am.
This is your son.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's your daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your daughter and Mr. Cortez were engaged to be married.
That's correct.
How old is your daughter?
She's 28.
And you, sir?
27.
How did you meet?
We had met on a dating app back in October 2020.
Okay. And when did you become engaged?
It was sometime in 2022. It might have been around April.
Did you give her a ring?
I did.
Your Honor, they were engaged in September 2022.
Did it sound better?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, this is what the case is about. Miss Gonzalez, it is your claim that wedding plans started to be made, you were paying for the wedding, and he broke off the wedding and broke off the marriage, future marriage, and you believe he is responsible for the non-refundable deposits that you put down on venue and maybe music, flowers, I don't know what, and that's part of your claim. You, sir, are her son, her brother, and it is your claim that Mr. Cortez vandalized your car.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Cortez denies that he vandalized your car. So I will hear your proof with regard to that. Mr. Cortez says that there is some property. Your harassment allegations don't reach the level of harassment, sir, but you claim that they have certain property that belongs to you.
Yes, and I do have a text message from Kristen Ramirez stating to one of my friends that she has my property and has refused to give it.
Oh, so that will make my job much easier when I get to your counterclaim. Okay, so Ms. Gonzalez, you started to plan a wedding.
What happened was they came in and they spoke to Kristen's father and myself. They announced their engagement. And so we congratulated them. We said we would pay for the majority of the cost, but that we did have some things that we wanted them to pay for.
That's okay.
So at the time, I wasn't too familiar with Michael. And so just as precaution, I did ask him if he would be okay if he broke off the engagement, that he would reimburse for the venue, because the venue is something that is not always reimbursed.
Did you ever have that discussion with her?
No.
I can't tell you how many weddings that I've made, Miss Gonzalez. Children, grandchildren, made and paid for. I have never had that discussion with any of the future spouses. If you break it off, you have to reimburse me for down payments.
It was
I never.
Yeah.
I never.
Just the way that he was acting, it made me feel like I needed that reinsurance.
I don't believe you, actually, at all. Because if I, as a mother, you have two children?
Yes, I do.
If you have two children, if I had certain reluctance about either the character or the commitment that one of my children's future mates have, it wouldn't be about returning my money. I would sit down with my daughter and say, you know, I'm not getting a great feeling about this guy. I have a feeling he's going to slip. And if I had a feeling I was going to slip, and if you wanted to extract that promise to him, should have put it in writing.
Right.
Because it doesn't make sense to me, based upon my own personal experience, that that's not the way a new marriage starts with, by the way, if it doesn't work out, you're going to pay me back for this, right?
Right. Well, my means are limited, so...
And so are his.
Yeah. And so what we did was we had an agreement. We asked...
Just a second, show me.
We
show
had
me.
a verbal...
Just show me.
Well,
I'm telling you, I don't buy it. But I'm going to listen to him.
Okay.
And I'm going to listen to any proof that you have.
Okay.
See any proof that you have where he committed to paying for the wedding in the event that he broke up the engagement.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay? She just told me that you said to her at some point, I will pay for your non-refundable stuff if something happens. Tell me your version of it.
So what she said is not true. What happened was on the night of October 1st, I had gone to her house to speak with Kristen, my girlfriend at the time. I wanted to talk to her about a prenup. My witness here...
Just a second. You wanted to talk to her about a prenup. Why?
Earlier in the year, Kristen made demands towards me saying she wanted to buy a house, but she only had $200 in her savings account, and I had $40,000. So she was expecting me to make the down payment. And at the time, I had savings. I have 2 cars. I have a master's degree. She was kind of expecting me to provide for her. And at the time, I did not feel that was fair.
You mean that you were going to use your cash to buy a house
Yes.
that was going to be in both your names?
Yes.
And you wanted a prenup so that you would get whatever you put into the house out of it. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, because at the time, she was pretty much telling me where we had to buy the house. It had to be within a certain...
Just a second. Would you sit down a minute and let your sister stand up?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're Kristen.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Kristen, I want you to tell me about this house business. You had no money.
I don't have savings, but I had a job.
But you don't have money. You don't have savings. He had savings. You were living with your parents. You discussed with him buying a house?
We did in the future. It wasn't about buying a house. We had to have some form of living situation when we get married. That was the expectation. And that's what my mom discussed with him too, was that it wasn't him needing to buy a house then and there and in a certain area. We just needed to be able to live somewhere because we're getting married. How are we going to live in like our
you work, you just told me, and he works. So you find an apartment, and you each contribute to the rent and the expenses.
Yeah.
Is that what was the intention?
Yeah, and we're both on the lease agreement, and I did pay half. Or I paid as much as I could.
Did you live together?
We lived together, and then my brother also offered to be on to kind of help with costs, too. So it was...
kind of help with costs. You mean he lived there?
He also took up the spare bedroom.
Well, that would be a yes. He lived there.
Yeah.
So I have a copy of the lease. It's myself, Maria Gonzalez, and Kristen Ramirez. At the time...
Okay, so you're on the lease.
Yes, I co-signed for him because he was hesitant in getting and securing a housing. We had less than 2 months, Your Honor, for the wedding. And I was very truthful with him, and I told him, you cannot live in our house. You need to secure housing. That was our agreement in the beginning, that you would be responsible for housing. I never said anything about buying a house or anything. It's just
you got a butt out of your children's business. You have a 28-year-old daughter. What are you giving him instructions for?
Because, Your Honor, he wasn't doing anything. He had a room.
Well, that's up to her.
Right.
That's not up to you. I mean, your daughter's almost 30. Why is that up to you when she's got a fiance? She's got to figure out what she's going to do with him. What did you have to do with that?
When we were discussing the wedding, we did say these were the expectations. You were to have a place for them to stay. It didn't matter where they were going to stay. I never said anything about you have to buy a house or you need to get an apartment or anything. It's just a stable place.
What other expectations did you indicate to him that you were expecting?
That he pay for the wedding license and that he pay for his clothing. That's the only thing that we asked.
You mean for the license and for his clothing for the wedding?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Maria Gonzalez and her son, Noe Ramirez, claim Maria's daughter's ex-fiancé, Michael Cortez, owes for wedding costs. Michael is countersuing for the return of property and personal threats.
Okay, you were telling me a story, and let's get to it rather quickly, because what day is it today? Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Something about sushi for lunch on Wednesday. So you went to the house to discuss a prenup.
Yes.
And what happened?
Originally, at the time, me and Kristen agreed that we wanted to do a prenup, and this was something that she discussed between myself and my dad a year ago. At the time, Kristen was the one who wanted the prenup.
Because she was going to inherit a house.
Yes.
Well, what house were you going to inherit?
I just want to correct that I did not discuss a prenup with his father when we discussed the engagement.
You discussed it, just the two of you.
It was between us and my therapist.
There was a breakup, Your Honor, in February, and it was between them.
Okay, we're going to forget about these wedding costs. I could see the handwriting on the wall a long time ago. You should have, too. Would you tell me? Forget it. Not happening.
I do have messages that he was offering his Mercedes for payment reimbursement for the wedding.
Okay.
I do have.
I'll take a look at that. Would you mind telling me what happened when you went to the house to talk about the prenup? That's what you were in the middle of.
Yes. So we had discussed about wanting to do a prenup, and we agreed. And then about 20 minutes later, the mom came in to the apartment, started blowing up on me, saying, "How dare I make her daughter work? How dare I make her daughter pay rent? How dare I force her to sign a prenup?
Okay. Kristen, you remember that discussion?
It was
Jump,
not.
jump.